Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, Kabam has put out a dev diary state of the AI update post. I'm going to go over this and I am going to give you my thoughts. I want your thoughts too as well on this, okay? We've been boycotting for two reasons, two major reasons. There's some other ones that are important, but the two big ones were the way we're treated, the way we're communicated with, the talking down nature. I feel like since I have started the boycott, that has completely changed to the point where I'm praising their treatment of us now. And I'm saying we need to be respectful back. That is how much things have changed. The other big one was the AI. And I talked about how we deal with it every single day. Every time we log into the game, we deal with this AI. We haven't received any communication for forever. Here's communication. Let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to go over it. And like I said, I want your thoughts on this as well. Greetings, summoners. One of the frequently asked questions. They're saying basically at Fest, they were asked this a lot. I've recapped this myself and I said, like, I almost like that they didn't do this at Fest. I get it. I think Fest was about celebrations. It was about friendships. It was about enjoying what was going on with the game. I like when Kabam focuses on that. I think they're very good at it. So many people have come out having fun. I'm fine with that. I truly am. Okay. So let's kind of move on with that. If you're not, that's fine. You can put that in the comments. A short recap on the AI. They're basically just recapping stuff that they've told us. There's kind of that phrase I think we all like to say. It's like a perfect button mashing, frame perfect button masher. You can kind of see that right there. And they do link the dev diary, which I got to say, I know this stuff might seem very small to you. Remember, in my past life, I was a lawyer, so like sometimes these little things mean a lot to me, and I like that they're providing that. Like, hey, you can look back and see what we've said before. AI 2.0 progress, for better or worse, the current state is the game. The current AI is the game, and players justifiably have lots of expectations on how it does and should behave. So for 2.0, our goal is to get as close to the current AI experience as possibly initially. Now, what I'm reading that, and this is my second full reading through it, I wanted to read through it and get a little idea of it before I sat down, was what they're saying. I think this makes a lot of sense is if they just create this like totally different feeling AI, then it's going to be a different game for us. And this is something I've talked about. It's like we log in every day and we experience the AI, no matter what mode you're playing. This is what you experience. And so that's why it's such a big deal. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like if we've been playing this game for 3 months to 10 years, and then all of a sudden the behaviors of the AI, the good ones, let's call it, the non-problematic ones are just completely different. That's a whole other problem. Like that is the game, as they're saying right there. The current AI is the game. I had to read that multiple times to make sure that wasn't a typo. I'm like, no. I think they're actually saying something that I very much agree with. So I like that. Now they go into this kind of thing with the perception system. And I'll be honest, this is part of why I didn't really want them to do this at the fest is like, for those of you who are interested in this, I think that's going to be really exciting. You're going to enjoy it. The vast majority of people are like, sure, base layer dot idle k dodge. Okay. Like this would have been one of the most boring presentations in the history of PowerPoints for the vast majority of people, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, that's fine. But now we're going to get to where I think that this is starting to really make a lot of sense. We're talking about the memory system. From the groundwork of the perception system, we're able to build out a working memory. AI 2.0 can now remember what happened earlier in the fight and use that to influence its decision making. I think this is one of those things that could concern some people, and I think it'll excite others. And the vast majority of us, like myself, are like, to me, this feels like Kabam will have more control over it, which, yeah, could be a problem. But if we're playing this game, like I'd like the idea of Kabam having control over them not having control over it. I think the bigger issue is like if you or the non-framing it that way is like maybe you just don't want to play the game Kabam makes, which is a whole other problem. But we're playing this game. We want to enjoy this game. I like the idea of Kabam being able to control it. I've talked to you a lot about like the step backs and the dexing my specials and my strikers and the snap lights and the walk-up lights and that sort of thing. I want Kabam to be able to control and minimize that as much as they possibly can when it's not fair, okay? AI logic blocks, we're creating the ability to codify more complex behaviors, not just specific animations, parrying, intercepting, et cetera, so that we can modify these individually in the future. Like, that sounds great to me. Them being able to have that sort of control, I think is a very good thing without all the scary knock-ons. I think they're addressing that. You know, they can't address every single scary knock-on. I'm fine with them using a generic big term like that, broad term. Our starting point for these blocks will usually be to construct the existing emergent behaviors for good or ill, but further change will be much more predictable. Again, I like that. And this is, to me, where treating us with respect, being transparent, I think what they're saying, what I'm reading this is very much like the Ascension post is we're going to do this. We're going to put it this way. We've created a system where we have more controls. It might not, it's definitely not going to be perfect right away. And we're going to iterate on it and work on it as we go. For a live service game that's looking to entertain us month after month for in perpetuity, I think that sounds great. Okay. Proof of concept, high dex box. As an example of the kind we're working doing right now and why it doesn't lend itself well to playable demos, here's a terrifying example of what the AI looks like if we program it to avoid as many. So this is what they're saying is like, if they just program it to dex as much as possible, look how bad this would be. Abomination. What are you doing, man? You got to step up your game. I think that's more an abomination. Just kidding. Maybe not the video to be making jokes in, but you get it. And I think they're showing us that. And again, I appreciate this. Using another previous example, we can't just tell the AI to light intercept the attacker less. This, I think this is, they're not using my exact words of like where I call it a snap light or a walk-up light, but this is still basically it is what I'm gathering, light intercept the attacker less. They can't just say like, don't do that. Unless it knows what that means. So we have to teach it to light intercept as perfectly as possible, codify that behavior in logic blocks, and then tell it to do what specific thing less. Yeah, dude, that sounds great. For me, this is often like when I get on a plane and the pilot's like, we're going to go up to this thing and then we're going to cruise here. And then I'm like, I don't know, man, you fly the plane. I don't. I'm going to sit back here. I'm going to have my earphones on. Something goes wrong, you let me know. This to me, I'm like, hey, I appreciate this communication. That's great. Do it. Sounds good. We can't teach it halfway or we'll be able to only prevent it halfway. So it sounds like they're working on teaching it. What's next? We know the current AI is frustrating. We feel it as hard as you do. I know he's a controversial figure, man, but one of the greatest things Bill Clinton ever did was like, I feel your pain. And like, people just want to know that you get it. And right there, they're saying they get it. We've been devoting resources to these updates for a very long time. The good news is that we are rapidly approaching broader internal playtesting on AI 2.0, meaning that we feel we're close to the point where broader feedback will actually be helpful. That's sounds great. I'd like, yeah, I'm going to get to my thoughts afterwards. We're a little uncertain at this stage how much iteration beyond that it goes. I can expect that. I think that's fair, right? I don't want them to say it'll be in January when they're like, we hope it's in January. We don't know. I think that's one of the issues that live service or anything like deadlines can run into is, do you want people to do it right or do you want them to hit the deadline? What you need to do is find people who are motivated to get it right. We set the deadlines because we're concerned they're going to go off and do all these various things and get distracted, but you find the right people to get it. And I appreciate that. So we can't comfortably share a release timeline beyond sometime 2016 at this juncture. That's where we might have a problem. But we'll get to that at the end. But things are coming along, and this remains a high priority for the team as a whole. However, for visibility, our intention is that once we feel it's in a good enough state, we'll be rolling it out with players to try it in pieces of bespoke content, IG side quests, or EG, similar to how we initially tested things like Strikers and Relics. I think that's really fair. I like that. I like that it's not going to just be plopped into the game as a whole in battlegrounds, war, story content, tough boss fights and stuff. Be like, here, feel this out. Let us. I mean, I think in a way they're not literally saying this, but I think they're figuratively saying like you guys are going to beta test this. We feel like that's been the case over 10 years anyway. I like that they're just addressing it and saying like, again, it's this transparency and the treating with respect that I am just really, really excited about. We intend to build that content carefully to show off the high impact AI behaviors and to let you see the new system in close proximity. But this isn't something we intend to rush because it's something we intend to get right. I think this sounds, as far as a post goes, as far as like what we can get out of a post, as far as like how much confidence we can have via a post or from a post, this is like a 10 out of 10 for me. Okay. I don't want them setting deadlines that they can't meet or things are rushed. I don't want that. And so I'm very comfortable with this as far as a post goes. Now, I want your thoughts on the post itself. I want your thoughts on what you're feeling with the game and moving forward. What I have here is an issue with in the bottom left-hand corner with the boycott on. I've removed from the spending freeze. It's just like, I'm just not spending. These things need to get fixed for me to even consider spending again. As you know, my channel members will be deciding half of that, meaning they're going to vote at the beginning of the month in December. Should that even be considered? And then ultimately I have to decide it too, right? And so I want to know is I think the treatment of the community, I think the communication has been phenomenal. I've let you know in streams and things like that, I have applied to be back to the CCP. If they're going to treat us that way, then I want to be there and I want to be on the not the inside technically, but I want to be there giving the feedback. I don't want to have to just do it via videos. I want to do it both in the server, in the DMs. And so I've applied. It's up to Kabam if they want to take me back or not. Okay. That's up to them. We'll see what they do. I can't control that. And then the AI was the other big one. If my channel members are like, no, dude, we ain't spending until this thing is live and fixed, hey, I'm all for it. I truly mean it when I say I'm about trying to do the best I can via you, my viewers. This is the relationship that's most important to me, and it will maintain that way. I don't need to spend on the video game to enjoy that relationship and to do these videos and to have a good time with you all. And if it helps create a better game as a result, if it puts a little bit of pressure on Kabam as a result, and you guys are comfortable with that, then so am I. As usual, let me know what you think we got right. Let me know what you think we got wrong. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.